Greetings and grace. Hey, what kind of leader are you? Are you a great leader? Are you raising up great leaders? Oh, yes. Leadership and, excuse me, leadership and succession. Let's get into it. All right. So we are in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and we are going all the way down to the advancement is meaningless aspect because we're going to talk about it. Better a poor wise than it's better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to heed a warning. The youth may have come from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. I saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no end to all the people who were before them. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So yeah, like we already know, you know what I'm saying? Solomon, King Solomon, he how do I explain him? He's one of the wisest person, right? He was the wisest person to ever have lived, right? And with that comes a burden and a different outlook on life. And a lot of the time, he's talking about a lot of things being meaningless. And I believe that a lot of that is because a lot of things were given to him, not just like given to him. There was a lot of things that he didn't really maybe had to struggle for. That's what I'm thinking, right? Because he didn't really struggle for it, and he talked about it earlier on in the chapters, in the earlier chapters, when he talked about specifically how he denied himself zero asks. Anything that he wanted, he got. And that tells me that, man, that's kind of disappointing when you start to think about it, because he never tasted a bitter loss, or he never took an L that made him want to work harder to achieve a W, right? And because of that, I believe that that is a big part of his outlook on this whole meaningless aspect. So in the ESV side, it reads, better was a poor and wise youth. And I'm reading from this side right here, you guys. Better was a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who no longer knew how to take advice. For he went from prison to the throne. Though in his own kingdom he had been born poor, I saw all the living move about under the sun, along that with youth who was to stand in the king's place. There was no end of all the people, of all of whom he led, excuse me. There was no end of all the people, all of whom he led. Yet those who come later will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and a striving after wind. So it makes me think about David, King David, and King Saul, who came before King David. If you guys remember, I don't know if you guys remember or recall the story, but essentially David was a shepherd, and he was very bold. He was the youngest of his brothers, of his siblings, and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he was the youngest of his siblings, and when they were looking for the next king, right? They were looking for the anointed one to be next in line. All of his brothers, they tried to get it, but the king specifically asked for David, and David was the one that was chosen. He knew how to play the harp. He was a poet, you know what I'm saying? He loved God, man after God's own heart. Not only that, he was the one that took care of the sheep, and he did so in a loving way. He made sure to really, like, fight off any and every animal that tried to take them out. And he also took down Goliath with a daggone slingshot and some pebbles. When you start to think about that, he has had a life that was just a lot of training, a lot of training. And so he has this level of patience, he has this level of understanding of how people are, of how to, be bold, how to be courageous, how to, go for the big things, and and then stay searching, stay vigilant after, God's relationship, his relationship with God. Yes, he made a ton of mistakes, but one thing's for certain, he knew how to take ownership, and he stayed focused on God. So let's talk about it. There was the issue that Saul began to have resentment towards King David, right? Saul tried to kill him, I think once or twice, say maybe even three times. Saul tried to kill him. And that was because the people were singing in the kingdom. They were like, Saul has killed 1,000, David tens of thousands. And that caused Saul's heart to be hardened to the point where he was not only jealous of the man who was his successor, who's supposed to move bigger and better, right? And beyond what Saul could do, but he saw that Saul saw that he was not going to be, you know what I'm saying, at the forefront anymore while he was still in charge and the head of the kingdom as king. And that can be something that a lot of people simply aren't ready for. I have seen it in a plethora of different organizations. I have seen when people, who have done things for decades, and then the next generation is ready to go. That God qualified them, and I mean, we see it. We see it. We see it with the pandemic. We see what has happened when the elders didn't necessarily listen to the youth. We see what has happened. And that's why I try to tell people, hey, learn technology. And I use that as an example because if you're not technologically savvy, right? If you don't get the basics or the fundamentals down, it's going to be significantly worse later on down the line. I'm talking within the next 10 years because everything that is technology is taking over. So it's best to learn how to control it, how to be in control, and how to, leverage it to your advantage for whatever it is you're trying to do, especially in business, but also in leadership. How can you lead or be the next, you know what I'm saying, the next global business if you don't know how to do the basic things of technology, right? Yeah, you can hire people. Sure, hire people, but guess what? If you if you don't have the right, excuse me, if you don't have the right conversations, or if those people don't genuinely care about you, they don't align with your vision, guess what? They can take over what it is you're trying to do, ice you out, and you won't even know how to fix it. Look, you got to learn the fundamentals. Again, you got to learn the fundamentals. I'm going to say that one more time. You have to learn the fundamentals of technology because if you want something sustainable and you want your business to last a long time, you need to learn those things. We are seeing left and right whole bunch of businesses closing, even more so because they refuse to have a website. They refuse to have, I'm talking like the basics of basics. And I'm saying this, right, as someone, like, when I started designing websites, right, I started designing my own websites, and I started designing my own website around like 2012. I didn't know what I was doing, and I mean, it was trial by error. I wish I had a picture of it. It's somewhere. It's somewhere. But I mean, in comparison to what I can do now, the technique that I've learned over the years, the failures that I've made, the fails that I've made in design, and then how I design today has significantly improved. You could think that, you would think I actually went to school for it, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? And then I learned more technique by actually going to some certification classes. So that definitely took things up a notch and made my design process even better. And that's what I'm talking about, you guys, right? I'm still consistently learning in technology because I understand the value of making sure that I'm not just left behind, but my businesses will be relevant. Yes, Priceless Faith Productions, Priceless Faith Wear, you know what I'm saying? The Expert to Authority, the fact that the content creation, there's so many things on the inside of me, right? And so many businesses and organizations and a couple of nonprofits that I'm like, whoo, there's a lot of stuff that I need to do. There's a lot of stuff that I need to build up. And I need to make sure that I know where God is calling me to do it, right? That I can set it up effectively so that I can have the right successors to keep things going, right? Because that is what matters, because our visions will align. And that's what it's about. So we're going to look up the definition of leadership, and then we're going to look up the definition of successor. I would just say leader. Yeah, leader. One that leads or guides, one who is in charge or in command of others, one who heeds a political party or organization, one who has influence or power, especially of political nature, a conductor, hey, especially of an orchestra, band, or choral group, the principal performer in orchestra or in the orchestral section or group, shout out to what's his name? Richard Smallwood. Oh my God, he's a great conductor. Man, Anthem of Praise with Vision. Oh my Lord, you guys, check that joint out. Check that joint out on YouTube, the full version. The name of the song is called Anthem of Praise. It's one of the greatest like praise and worship songs in the entire world. I kid you not. And he has everything. He has sign language, he has praise dancers, he has the all the orchestra and the choir. And I mean, let me tell you, that song, uh, whew, that song, man, that song is phenomenal. All right, so conductor. What's great about a conductor is that they have the vision. They knew the map that they drew. They knew the picture. They know the picture that's being drawn, right? And that picture that's being drawn musically is intentional. There are beats, there's timing, there's measures, there's moments that you have to be prepared for. And as he's conducting, right, he's conducting this the tenors, the sopranos, the altos, and then there's another conductor who's conducting, I mean, right, just leveraging that one song alone, we're talking about it, right? Leadership. Yet last night we talked about the one or the two. Are you the one or the two? Richard Smallwood would be the one, and then the music conductor would be the two. Richard Smallwood was directing and conducting the choir. The conductor was directing and conducting those who are playing the instruments, the musicians, right? And so you would see Richard Smallwood going up with one hand. He's like, praise him with the Timberland dance, praise him with the sound of the trumpet, praise him with string instruments. Let everything that have breath praise the Lord. Oh, magnify the Lord. And then it goes dun 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 dun. And so the conductor would, hit that side of musicians. Dun, 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 magnify the Lord. Boom, boom, magnify the Lord. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Then the sopranos, magnify the Lord. They all went up higher. They went up pitches and keys and everything. Then with me, magnify the Lord. Then it was like, let us exalt his name together. And then it goes, praise him. And then the conductor will be over here with the string instruments, and it goes boom, doom, doom, boom. And like when you watch that, I highly encourage you to watch that. I mean, phenomenal. Because what happens is when you see both of those things happening at the same time, you see everything. It worked together as a team, as one purpose. And whenever, or if at any moment anyone gets lost, they know that, okay, I'm looking at my music sheet. I know this is happening, but wait, we're repeating this. All they have to do is look right on up, look right at their leader, look right at who the conductor is. And guess what? They're going to know what's next. They're going to know, oh, that's my cue. Oh, I'm about to come in step two. I'm about to come in on the fourth beat. Whatever it is, right? That requires that requires the knowledge and the wisdom to make sure that you know what song is being played, how it's being played, if something messes up, how you can fix it, and then some. There's a saying in theater. It's theater 101. The show must go on. What happens in theater, right? When somebody messes up a line, it could throw everybody off. But guess what? Those who are well in it, those who know it, those who live theater, they know that they know that they know, right? They know the script. They know their lines. Somebody messed up, but that's okay. Somebody is going to be the leader within that scene, within all those actors, that's going to take the lead and be able to get people back on track. I'm telling you, that stuff has happened. I've seen it happen. I've helped it happen. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you guys some stories, man, when the show continuously moved on. I'll try to figure out if I really want to talk about it, maybe next time. But I just want to say that when you know what it is that you're doing and a mistake happens, great leadership doesn't always pull away, right? Great leadership knows when to walk away, but great leadership knows how to pivot. And great leaders know how to successfully cause everybody else to pivot because they're confident in it. And I'm saying that as someone who has also been a great leader as well as a poor leader, because my poor leadership side, I didn't necessarily choose the right people. I didn't necessarily know all of my principles, right? How to go about things, right? I didn't know how to address, how to lead, right? Not to lead, excuse me. I didn't know how to address, how to deal with problems the way that it actually aligned with what it is that I believe should be done, right? That was a major fail. And I definitely took a huge step back because I was like, you know what? I'm very upset at this moment. And I had to take some steps back because I needed to figure some things out. I needed to learn what it is that I didn't learn, right? And that was okay, I need to solidify what my principles are so that I can effectively be a better leader, so I can effectively have better conversations, so that I can effectively have better partnerships. And then, right? Right? That was with the group. Then with just one person, I messed up. I did. I messed up. I didn't give it enough time. And that was my fault. And then I allowed obligations and things like that to cause me to move differently, which shouldn't have, and or my excitement to move the put the cart before the horse, right? And that was foolish. You know what I'm saying? I take ownership of that. And I'm like, dang, okay, in order to be a better and effective leader, there are still some things that I need to learn, and not just learn, right? I need to ask the questions for the things that I don't even know what to ask. Be like, hey, what questions should I be asking? Right? You guys have to get direct like that. Like, so if you have mentors in your life, I'm so grateful for my mentors. You know what I'm saying? Because I will straight up ask them, like, look, I failed. What do I need to do? How can I prevent things like that happening again? Right? Where was I wrong? And that right there has opened up the door for just a wave of instruction, a wave of wisdom that I've been able to apply, right? That I've been able to leverage in counting the cost for every decision now, right? So it's like, okay, counting the cost. Okay, thinking about it. All right. So if this doesn't work out, yes, this is my fault. How do I fix it? How do I is it fixable? Do I need to walk away? How will I make sure that no matter what it is that I'm doing is sustainable, right? Learn what I don't know and apply what it is that I learn. And then ask what I don't know and apply what's been shared. That is how you win longer term, right? And that's how you build something that's more sustainable. And then, especially if you have a bunch of, and I mean a bunch of moving parts, like, to be honest with you, my mindset, like, it's like the anthem of praise. I hear and I see all the every aspect of the big picture, right? Right? The whole entire thing. And then it's like, okay, this is the vision. All of these things need to be in place, and they need to be sustainable. So that means one step at a time. That means not rushing. That means making sure that the right people are in the right places, because what I don't want are people who are going to need to be coddled, right? What I don't want are people who, like, need help every step of the way, or who's going to ask me questions every step of the way, right? You know what I love about the story of Moses, right? So Moses, we know he had a speech impediment. You know, he stuttered a lot. And he, one of the things he definitely did, was he didn't have enough confidence in himself. Like, he questioned God 3 times, and he was like, God, I still need somebody. And God was like, you only need me. And he really struggled with that. And so God was like, fine, your brother Aaron, right? And Aaron, Aaron really wasn't, like, strong in the faith either. Like, it was honestly his brother Aaron, like, Miriam had more strength and more faith. I'm talking spiritually, right? It had more faith spiritually than Aaron did. But hey, it worked out how it was supposed to. But what I love about the story of Moses was when his father-in-law Jethro's one of my favorite people ever. I freaking love Jethro. Jethro came to visit to see what was going on, right? They're stuck in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? Israelites are complaining 24/7. You know what I'm saying? They are just over it. They don't know what they're doing. Moses is tired, exhausted, drained. And Jethro is like, what in the world are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And Moses told him. And Jethro's like, no, no, son, you need to do things differently. And at that moment, Jethro taught him how to build a system. Jethro built and created a structure where a different system could thrive. He was like, you don't need to be worried as the leader that you are, right? as the leader that God appointed you to be, you don't need to be worried about the petty stuff, the trivial questions and issues that people are having. And I'm talking like, so say something along the lines of, okay, think about it this way: baby mama drama or baby daddy drama or whatever, or relationship drama, or you know what I'm saying? Oh, someone took my shoes, or someone started a fight with me. Moses did not need to deal with that, right? Moses needs to deal with the bigger things that's going to actually effectively help them take things to the next level. And so Jethro was like, no, you need to have people that can be leaders within each of these areas that can handle that can handle those questions, that can handle those situations. And he put appointed judges, you know what I'm saying, appointed counselors, things like that can handle the trivial, the smaller stuff. And then Moses could focus his time on the bigger vision, the bigger picture. And then that was when I was like, yo, Jethro's mad dope. I like Jethro. We all need a Jethro. I mean, even if you're like super duper organized, even if you know everything or you feel as though you know everything, look, we all need a Jethro. We need that outside perspective. That understands the inside vision. Oh, that's a word right there. You need that outside perspective to understand the inside vision, so that they can better delegate, so they can better direct and conduct. That's what we're talking about here. So I want you guys to be encouraged. I really want you to think about that, because what he's talking about here, Solomon, is he's talking about he's talking about they're gonna follow the youth. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. He's talking about that. Hold on one second. I'm going to pull it up real quick so you guys can see it. This specifically, verse 16. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. They're talking about the next generation. They're talking about those who followed the youth. They're talking about those who followed the youth, right? Even if they came from prison, or to the king and went to the kingship, or they may have been born in poverty within that kingdom, right? He saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no end to all the people who were before them. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. What does that tell you? That tells you that you just can't pick and choose anybody to lead. You can't do that. That's foolish, right? Not only that, talks about it's better to be poor but yet wise than an old person that's a foolish king, and you don't know how to take advice. You don't know how to heed a warning, right? You don't know how to heed. You don't know how to grow. You stop growing. You stop elevating. You stop developing. So successor, and then we're going to close. One that succeeds another. So your successors are supposed to do better than you. They're supposed to expand with what it is that you gave them and be better. They're supposed to do better. So make sure you're supporting them, right? The people that I mentor, you know what I said to one of my brothers? I said, because one day he was like, you're kind of tough on me sometimes. I say, yes, you're right. You are absolutely correct. And the reason why is because you're younger than me, but also you got more energy. And finally, I'm sharing all these things with you, and you know what my vision is. You know what the things that I'm doing. And I expect for you to succeed me. I expect for you to go farther beyond than I can go. And I told him, because I know you can do it. There was this show. It was one of my favorite shows ever. It's called Malcolm in the Middle. It was I want to say the very last episode. Malcolm's finally graduating. He's finally graduating high school. And, Reese was preparing a final prank and everything like that. And it exploded in the car. It was like this gross, like, chemical thing that exploded in the car. The whole family got in the van and it just bubbled over and exploded. And everybody's being hosed off. And Malcolm, he just breaks down. He's like, you know what? I am tired of you guys. I'm tired of everybody. He was mad at his mom because his mom decided to make a decision for him. And he was like, why would you do that? I would have been set for life. I would have had everything that I needed. And his mom was like, You wanna know why I did it? He was like, "Yes, I do." And he was like she was like, "I did it because this is what's supposed to happen. This son is supposed to do this one. This son's supposed to do this son's supposed to do this." Dewey is, the musician. Dewey's the one that's supposed to, grow up and do what it is that you're trying to do now, but you you're supposed to be president, right? And he was like, "Why on earth would I want to be president of the United States of America?" And you know what she said to him? She said, "Look me in the eyes and tell me that you can't do it. Tell me that you don't know, right? Tell me that you can't achieve what needs to happen in the future in this country because you know where you came from. Tell me that you do not have the capability to make the world a better place, right?" And Malcolm, he knew right then and there, like, you know what? You're right. You're right. That is the better choice. It's a harder choice, but it was the better choice. And that right there is the difference between someone who's been prepared and who's been going through an entire preparation process to become the successor, right? And that's important because it wouldn't have been Reese. We saw it wasn't Francis. And who knows how they would have nurtured Jamie. And and Dewey, yeah, he was the musical prodigy. But Malcolm, people would follow him because he was a genius, because he, was relatable and things like that. So that's a good show too. That's a classic, classic funny show. And Bryan Cranston, whew, he's one of my favorite actors. Yeah, Walter White, like he's Hal and Malcolm in the Middle, and then Walter White in Breaking Bad. Like he's a beast with it. But successor, a person or thing that follows, especially a person who succeeds another in an office. That's it right there. This is good right here. In logic, the element related to a given element by a serial ordering, especially the natural number next larger to a given one. So a person or thing that succeeds or follows, a person who succeeds another in office position or the like, right? When you start to think about the type of leader that you are and the type of leader that follows you, you do have a responsibility to make sure that you nurture and you train and you have them ready. And then if you've been praying for one, you've been hoping for the successor, trust in God that that successor is going to do right by what it is that you've built, right? Make sure that they understand, make sure that they go through the process, make sure that they're there, excuse me, make sure that they're super duper committed and things like that. I've had a little bit of I had some pancakes, excuse me, and they were delicious. And so that was just a little bit of the tea that I drank down after that. So excuse me. It's really amazing when you start to think about stuff like that. And not only that, you start to understand the weight and the burden of making sure that you choose the right successor because it can't just be anybody. It can't. It's got to be someone who aligns with the vision and who can take that vision, not just complete it, but expand it. You got to connect with people who can expand it, who can honor, what I'm saying, the structure, who does believe in some amount of tradition, but also adopts modern ideas and modern ways of efficiency and taking things to new levels, i.e. technology. And so think about that, you guys. Be encouraged. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited to see and hear some of your wins and things like that. So stay safe, God bless, and have a phenomenal day, you guys. Thank you so much.